Story from A Ghost of the Now. This story takes place somewhere in the United States. The United States Forest Service is not held responsible to track or keep records of missing persons. Their role is to maintain the lands and properties, enforce code compliance. They are not staffed to investigate those who get lost. That task usually falls to local law enforcement. Those resources may be limited. There are several national parks that supposedly have a greater number of unsolved cases. Remember, these statistics, which do not officially exist, are non-existent as far as a public record, although there can be some truth. We shall use fictional names, locations, and dates. The parks are unwilling to risk tourism and possibly their own jobs. A single case is presented to illuminate the situation. There are more stories, such as this one. Be aware, some of these places may be unsafe. The final decision to go there is yours. This story dates back over 20 years, maybe around 2001. The following events were in a national park, likely northwestern section of America. Location is definitely not given. This was a heavily wooded forest. A large lake with some rocky coastline was here. Mountains surrounded this park. Hunting season was active. A group of 4 hunters set up camp, maybe 100 yards to the lakefront. The mix of old-growth trees and various pine was beautiful in the daytime. On dark nights, the same forest was intimidating. Limited light of either day or night reached the forest floor. This hunting party had a couple of tents, although things could appear forbidding after dark. They felt safe. 6 armed men. A good-sized campfire, though well out of range for wireless communication. A ranger station was about 5 miles away. The first night was quiet and uneventful. They were tired from the traveling and turned in early. The next day was the beginning of the hunt. They had permits to hunt elk, so they fanned out and began the hunt. One by one, they slowly separated. Hiding among the underbrush, one hunter named Troy had climbed partway up a tree. No luck in locating the rather large animals. They returned to the small clearing of the camp and discussed the happenings of the day. 3 of the guys heard some clicking sounds. Not mechanical, yet unlike anything they had ever heard. A 4th hunter said he heard what sounded like footsteps cracking dead twigs on the ground. Suddenly, all went quiet. Nobody else was in the area. That night, it must have been about 2 a.m. The strange clicking sounds returned and emanated from the woods. Wide awake and shining flashlights into the darkness, the men did not see anything causing the racket. Yet they felt a presence of some sort. A blood-curdling scream was heard from deeper in the forest. Not close, but not far either. Probably a predator on a kill, they reasoned. The following day, they were determined to hunt down their quarry. Very likely, they all would have been happy to make a kill and get out of this spooky place. One of the most experienced hunters was Troy. He had a military background and was an accurate marksman. Troy was to hunt in a far-forward position. He mentioned about hiding like a sniper, perched high in a tree. The rest of the hunting party took up a variety of spots and were spread out. The time went by fast. Soon darkness fell. It was a moonless night. Back at base camp, only 3 hunters returned. Where was Troy? Lacking enough daylight to perform an effective search, they decided to look in the morning. Perhaps Troy will show up later tonight. Everyone tossed and turned in the tents. Again, after midnight, the clicking sounds returned. Not like the previous evening. It sure sounded like multiple sources were producing the noises. Plus, they were louder, more aggressive this time. Were these animals or beings with intelligence? Were they communicating to each other? Maybe a group of animals issuing a warning about territory. It felt like keep out. While not in a human language, these men certainly got the message. They searched around spots Troy might have been. One hunter, Greg, hollered for the others to come over. Greg had found a boot that looked like Troy's. It was a camouflage boot. They recalled Troy mentioned he might try a sniper spot high up in a tree. Examining this tree and its large trunk, sizable scratch marks had been left. These marks were fresh. No strange footprints were there. Eddie was an athletic type and he climbed the tree. Eddie came down in a hurry. He was sweating and white as a ghost. Communicating nervously, he said there was blood up there. A torn piece of Troy's hunting jacket in his hand. Also, it was blood-stained. No other items were found. What caused the scratch marks? Why was there no blood trail? A mountain lion would have left an obvious trail from dragging prey. Plus, where was his prized scoped rifle? Again, it was already dusk. They were now several miles away from the base camp. It was decided to camp there. Build a campfire. Post a guard, stay safe, and resume the search in the morning. As they feared, the clicking sounds resumed during the night. Nervous and sleepless, they armed up in a circle. All had their backs to the flames. The clicks got louder. Eddie heard footsteps. He heard footsteps and a weird laughter. "That has got to be Troy," Eddie exclaimed. "Hey, I think I see him, right back there." Another hunter, Patrick, told Eddie to wait a minute until they made a plan. Now, athlete Eddie, with rifle at hand, ran into the trees in an instant. "Troy, I see you. Hang on, brother, I am here." There was a single loud, blood-curdling scream. It had to be Eddie. Then, everything in the forest went silent. To be continued. Hit the like and subscribe for part 2.